When you're looking at a recipe and you see that it requires coconut milk, you automatically picture the can, right? Well, that's definitely an option. It's super convenient and there are some great ones out there that don't compromise quality. But you should also consider making your own. Homemade coconut milk is so different. It tastes fresher, of course, but it's also way more fragrant. The flavor really is unmatched. The traditional Jamaican way of making coconut milk is to first crack the coconuts, husk out all the meat, and then grate it against a box grater, mix it with water, and then squeeze out all the milk. I'm taking a little bit less of a manual approach and using a handy blender. If you're not sure whether you want to dedicate the time and energy to making your own, watch me first and then decide. Let's begin by cracking these coconuts. There are a million ways that you'll find online to crack a coconut. I actually used to use my grandmother's old school iron in Jamaica and just like whack it in just the right spot and it would get it every time. But you don't need to find one of those. Just get yourself a heavy, blunt object like this hammer, and we're gonna be a little bit more deliberate than hitting it just right. If you look at the face of the coconut, you see the two eyes and the mouth. Just trace a line between the eyes about halfway, and apparently that's the spot. So let's hit it there and see what happens. There we go. So it just popped open and you can see that there is a long crack just like that. And we're gonna follow that with our hammer instead of, trying to start a new crack. Ooh. All right, that's good enough. So I'm just gonna use my hands to pop it open. And if you wanted to drink the water, you can go ahead. It's pretty good. The water from a fresh or jelly coconut is gonna have a lighter, sweeter taste. And by the time the coconut gets to be this age, the water's not as sweet because all of the goodness is actually absorbed into the coconut meat. Now that we've cracked all of our coconuts, it's time to husk out the meat. You might be tempted to grab your biggest, sharpest knife. That would actually be quite dangerous. Instead, grab a butter knife. The whole idea is we're not going to be cutting the meat out, but rather we're going to wedge our butter knife between the meat and the shell and just kind of pop it right out. We're going to rinse these off and cut them up into smaller pieces to give our blender a head start, and we are on our way to making coconut milk. Now's the time to blend. Now pour enough hot water to cover the coconut. All right, now that our first batch is blended, let's pour it through a strainer. All right, get it all out there. And if the water is still too hot to handle, just give it a few minutes to cool down before you get in there. Boop. All right, so we are literally going to squeeze it out. A lot of milk has come out so far, but even more will come out when you get in there with your hands. And we're adding the pulp back to the blender because it's gonna go in for a second press, but look how much comes out. That's why it's really important to put some muscle in. Squeeze it all out. And the hot water actually helps get the milk out of the coconut meat, kind of like when you're steeping a tea. And we're going to cover it up with some more hot water, blend it again, and squeeze it again. And that's it. We've got coconut milk. It's so good. It's creamy, it's nutty, slightly sweet, and you can drink it as it is or use it in a ton of different recipes. But we're actually gonna take it a step further and reduce this coconut milk into a thick custard that's the base of a really versatile Jamaican sauce called rundown.